Good morning, everyone. It's really nice to see everyone this morning. My name is Joanne, for those of you perhaps I have yet to meet, and I am joining you from my home in New Paltz, New York. And it's a bit sort of gray, but the sun is reflected off the iced over snow. So it's giving the whole landscape this sort of appearance of being covered in a blanket of diamonds, that sort of glare, but also really beautiful. And cold, extremely, extremely, extremely cold. But it's warming to come together like this. It offers some warmth to come together in this way. And in the, sort of small interweb, the, worldwide web Zoom internet, and then the larger internet that Enki Roshi spoke of last weekend in her talk honoring Dr. King, the net of Indra, each of us, sort of meeting at this access and whole in our own self, in our sacred garment, as I had mentioned a while back, the way Martha Graham described our body as a sacred garment. So whole in ourself, and yet whole in a bigger way in our each individual boxes, like panels of the Buddha's robe, individual in their own section, but sewn together, making something much larger than any individual piece. And I've been thinking about this idea that Martha Graham offered when she described the body as a sacred garment. We often in Buddhism call it a skin sack, and that the diminishment sort of the body, I understand, it makes sense, and it's a skillful way of looking at the separate self to an extent. And indeed, isn't that what we are? A bag, if you will, and perhaps a very beautiful bag, but, filled with 60% water and some bones and organs and tissues all inside of it. But also in this sacred garment is where we meet whatever is arising moment after moment. It's happening here. It's in this body that it's happening. And as we explored, kind of in the embodiment workshops that happened over the past months, it isn't happening anywhere else than right here. And I think because of that, because it's happening here or there, as the case may be, there's a responsibility that arises out of that, in recognizing that it's happening here. Simultaneously, when we see that, responsibility arises. So I remember, and I think that's what makes it sacred. That's what makes the garment sacred, is when we recognize that this garment has a responsibility in how it responds. And years ago, I think it was a zazen kai, and it was probably at Varick Street, and someone had said during it, asked Joshin Roshi if it would be okay to take a couple of photographs. And this was very likely before cell phones, so it might have been a camera that was going to make a little bit of noise. And Joshin said, "There's nothing sacred going on here." And I was struck by it. It kind of hit me like, but wait, in my mind at the time, this is a sacred space. But she said, "There's nothing sacred going on here." And the Zendo maybe is a place where we get to slip out of our sacred garment for a moment, to put it down and just let senses experience things as they are for 30 minutes, and then 10 minutes of moving in that way, and then maybe another 30 minutes, and just experience it, things as they are arising, without that need to respond, as we do when we repossess that sacred garment and we get off our cushion and we leave our practice and on the cushion and enter the world, maybe even leaving the room that you're practicing in right now. Things are going to happen, and we have an opportunity in that to respond or to not respond. and the responsibility returns, if you will, and that sacred obligation that comes with possessing a human form, there it is once again. Isan Dorsey, who was a teacher in the Suzuki Roshi lineage, he died of AIDS in 1990. In a book, and I believe the study group, I know the study group studied it a bit back, so if I misquote this or misrepresent the story, please correct me. I'm going from my memory of having read a book about him called Street Zen, which is an excellent book that tells his sort of wild story and journey to becoming a Zen teacher. But in it, he has an enlightening experience, an enlightenment experience, or an enlightening experience walking down the street. Probably in the Castro, where the Zen Center was. He saw a popsicle stick on the street. And in that moment of seeing it, he recognized no separation. That's my responsibility. It's not someone else's. I can deflect and say, why hasn't this been picked up? Why didn't the store owner clean up in front of their shop? But that's my responsibility to pick it up. So I've shared in the past that I work as a nurse, and I'm currently working in a college health services facility and work with a whole bunch of other nurses. And it's been nuts, as you can well imagine, in a congregate setting with a variant that is transmissible as measles. It's been kind of nuts working there. And we've transitioned from a trailer in our parking lot that we lovingly called the she shed, where we tested symptomatic students. And now we've moved it into the building itself and created this sort of respiratory pathway to test symptomatic students and try to keep the school open and running and people safe. And to do that took a, huge effort and a lot of collaboration between everyone in the health services building. And it required, really creating and building the bridge as we're crossing it, which takes a type of collaboration unlike other collaboration, I think. It's a little different in that way. And I'm really fortunate to work with an amazing team of providers and nurses. I've worked in environments where collaboration wasn't so easy. However, here it's really been a great opportunity to work together. So being just slightly north of New York City, there's less political homogeny up here. And so those sort of assumed similarities in ideology and in philosophies and values need to kind of be tabled up here. People have very different ideas than maybe I have about politics and values and ethics and all kinds of things. So on this team that is building this bridge together, there's at least a couple of members whose religious beliefs actually out and out marginalize me as a gay person. More than marginalize me, see me as less than. It's not just a marginalization. And yet I have to work with them. And sometimes I even have to sit at the desk where they often sit. And triggered is a word that I think is thrown around a lot lately. I'm triggered. And yet when I'm sitting at this desk and I see the ally sticker that this person has received for finishing their ally training that has the pride flag within a triangle, and they have now been made sensitive to LGBTQ plus issues, not far from another sticker that has two baby footprints and it says choose life. And then not far from that is a Blue Lives Matter sticker. And this is in an area where students walk through and can see this. And we administer Plan B, which is sometimes referred to the morning after pill. And we counsel students who may be seeking to terminate a pregnancy. And this is in their view. And And we have a diverse population on the campus as well of Black and brown students who I can imagine seeing a Blue Lives Matter sticker may be triggering for them. It's certainly triggering for me. So there's a verse in our study text. I had to get to it at some point. So here it is. The rays shining from this perfect Mani jewel have the form of no form. Clarify the 5 eyes and develop the 5 powers. This is not intellectual work. Just realize it. Just know. It is not difficult to see images in a mirror, but who can take hold of the moon in the water? This stanza from the Song of Enlightenment, our study text, it struck me in the first reading this go around, this ongo period, and it has stayed with me. That idea, it's not intellectual work. Just realize it, just know. So of course I had to kind of figure out what these 5 eyes and 5 powers were. You know, we always in Buddhist texts have these random numbers associated with, you know, mystical things. And in the Zen traditions, we sometimes just kind of say, don't worry about it so much, just sit and practice. But I went searching and I found a text by Reverend Shen from the Chinese Zen community up here. I think Dharma Drum had written on this. And so I found a little bit about it. So the 5 eyes are as follows. There's the physical eye, the heavenly eye, the wisdom eye, the Dharma eye, and the Buddha eye. So the physical eye is, you know, the one right here in my head. It's very relative. It's probably the one I operate from 99.9% of the time, which is why I need to practice zazen and broaden my horizon a bit. So the heavenly eye, that's a little bit more like maybe our practice. When we get a little bit more 360-degree awareness, we sit down and sort of step out a bit from our self seeing the world with experiences happening at us. And then there's the Dharma eye, which is, the wisdom eye, which is the eye of shunyata. It's the eye of emptiness. So maybe that's the eye, you know, at the end of retreat. After a week's long practice, and we've really kind of let those boundaries down a bit and recognized that we're not separate from anything. And then there's the Dharma eye, and that's really the Bodhisattva's eye. That's the eye maybe Isan, you know, had that day walking down the street, seeing that popsicle stick and recognizing that's my responsibility. It's coming down back off the mountain and, you know, back into the marketplace. And then there's the Buddha eye, and I imagine that's probably as Dogen, you know, might have described it. You know, body and mind fall away. No subject, no object, you know, an eye without center. You know, it's the eye that says it's not intellectual, you know, just this moment. So I got this new set of glasses about a month ago. And pre-COVID, I was due for a new set, and the doctor had given me a prescription, but he was like, you know, it's just a slight bump up. You could fill it, you could not fill it. Maybe not filling it, you know, makes your eyes work a little bit, and you can hold off. And then we had a global pandemic. And so I didn't go to the eye doctor. And, you know, finally I was like, yep, I got to go get this checked out. I need to go in and get an eye exam. So I, you know, went in, and hence a new set of glasses. And I'm sure you've all probably had this experience, sitting your chin on the rest while they click through a bunch of different lenses. Is this better? Is that better? Is this better? Is that better? And, you know, of course, it's going really quickly, and you have to go, wait. Go back to the first one again. Okay, yeah, that's better. And then they flip and do the other eye. And so, and then for me, at least, they have to divide that lens in half because I have progressives. So there's got to be a lens that's created so I can see what's close to my perceived physical self. And then I can see what is in the distance from my perceived separate self. So it's easy maybe to think of these 5 eyes as graded, you know, like there's a white belt of an eye, which is that physical eye. And then there's the black belt of eyes, which is the Buddha eye. And yet, as we know from the optometrist, sometimes the lenses have to be laid over each other, and what lens might be best for seeing up close may not be the lens that's best for seeing at a distance. And sometimes we have to mix them together. And I remember very early in therapy for me, and this probably speaks volumes, it was a novel idea. My therapist said, you can have two emotions at the same time. And that, blew my mind in my adolescence. I kind of went, whoa, I just thought one emotion was allowed. And we can see perhaps in two ways at the same time. And our practice offers us that, I think. So when I contract, when I get triggered, I pull right back into my sacred garment. And my sacred garment doesn't become something I can utilize. It becomes like a shell. It's more like armadillo or tortoise-like in its structure. But and I find that I really am only looking through the bottom part of my lens. I'm only looking at what's close to me, because a lot of protection happens, and I'm doing a lot of that. But if I can raise my gaze up to the top part of my lens and kind of open it up and see a little beyond myself, then I can see someone who's an incredible nurse who cares a lot about the students who come into her, workspace, who is married to a state trooper, who she is concerned with, while he's protecting all of us, out and trying to keep us safe, who has kids who love her and who she loves deeply. And when I have that shift, when I turn the Mani Jewel, if you will, and I look through another facet of it, as opposed to the one that is most comfortable for me to look through, then maybe I can say something like, hey, I recognize that it may be really difficult because of your faith and your traditions to offer someone plan B, or to discuss with them terminating a pregnancy. If you want to swap those patients out during the day, I can pick that up and you can take my sprained ankle. We can make that switch, and it doesn't have to be a thing. Maybe I can. So these glasses actually need a tune-up. I spent about the couple months now thinking I just needed to get used to them. But I think they actually put the division a little too low. Maybe they knew at Lens Crafters that I need, more of this and less of this. Maybe they knew, and that's why they constructed the glasses the way they are. So I'm going to leave you with a poem from Thich Nhat Hanh that I think speaks to this. It's not a phenomenal poem. It's not eloquent and fancy and poetic per se, but it's very Thich Nhat Hanh. It speaks directly to this, I think. And lastly, we are 60% water, so why grasp for the moon? It's reflected. It's there. We're constantly trying to find it, but it's there. You're 60% water. It can't be but reflected in you. So here's the poem. It's called You Are Me. You are me and I am you. It's obvious that we are inter-are. You cultivate the flower in yourself so that I will be beautiful. I transform the garbage in myself so that you do not have to suffer. I am here to bring you peace. You are here to bring me joy.